In the quiet corner of a restless sky, where broken dreams and whispers lie, a fragile kite of colors bright waited for the wind of light. It was made of paper thin, but stronger than the storms within, tied with threads of silent prayer, floating on the breath of air. A child once held that gentle string, with dusty feet and eyes that sing. He had no gold, no castle high, only faith that reached the sky. The world behind him cracked and gray, fields where laughter ran away, empty plates and weary nights, stars that hid their tender lights. Yet in his hand, that kite would rise, painting dreams on wounded skies, every pull a hopeful plea. Tomorrow bring a place for me. The wind at first was cold and slow, like life that didn't want to flow. The kite it trembled, dipped in fear, as doubt began to hover near. Let it go, the shadows said. Hope is weak, already dead, but small hands held with quiet might, refusing dark, choosing light. Then a breeze from nowhere came, soft but fierce, without a name. It kissed the kite, it filled its frame, and suddenly the sky was flame. Up it danced, so wild, so free, like a soul from chains set free. Every tale of color bright wrote a poem across the height. Red for courage yet to grow, blue for tears he didn't show, green for fields not yet in sight, gold for dawn after the night. People passed and stopped to stare at that small hope in open air. Some just smiled, some turned away, too tired themselves to dare to pray. But one old man with silver hair watched the kite with thoughtful care. He whispered low, I used to know a hope like that so long ago. A woman with a heart worn thin felt a quiet stir within. Her heavy steps grew soft and slow as she watched that bright thing glow. The kite was no more paper now, it was a promise. It was a vow. It was every maybe still alive in those who only try to survive. Clouds rolled in like armies gray. Thunder growled, hope can't stay. Lightning cracked the sky apart. Rain like grief on every heart. The string pulled hard against his skin. Burning lines so deep, so thin, tears and rain became the same. Still he held, through storm and pain. The kite bent low, almost undone, its colors fading, one by one. The sky laughed dark, the wind turned wild. Let it fall, it mocked the child. But hope is strange. It does not shout. It's just a whisper, not a doubt. A quiet voice that softly says, storms don't last for all your days. The boy looked up with soaking face, fear and faith in tight embrace, and through the storm his voice took flight. My hope is small, but it can fight. The string, though torn, did not release, his shaking hands refused defeat. And in that moment, fierce and deep, even the thunder seemed to weep. The wind grew tired of all its rage. The storm turned like a closing page. Rain fell soft, then slipped away. Night exhaled the birth of day. And there it was, against the blue, the kite, though torn, still flying true. Not perfect now, not smooth, not new, but stronger for what it went through. The old man smiled with shining eyes, as if he'd found his youth's sunrise. The woman breathed, her burden light, borrowing strength from that small sight. For hope is never just your own. It's seeds and winds that get far blown. One small kite in open air can lift 1,000 from despair. The boy stood still, his heart so wide, feeling the whole world change inside. He did not know what he had done, how many hearts his kite had won. He only knew the sky was vast, that storms may come but never last, and even paper, weak and small, can teach the heavens how to fall. So if your days are dark and slow, if silent tears are all you know, remember skies are not always gray. The wind of hope can find your way. Hold your string through fear and night, through storms that steal your breath and sight. For somewhere in your trembling hand a kite of hope waits to command. Not made of power, pride, or fame, but quiet faith without a name. And when you let your courage rise, it paints new dawns across your skies. The morning opened like gentle eyes, soft gold spilling from the skies. The boy still stood on earth so bare, yet something brighter lived in air. The string was rough against his hand, a fragile bridge from sky to land. Each fiber hummed a quiet song of holding on when nights are long. Birds flew past in sweeping grace, circling round that hopeful trace, as if they too had come to see what faith looks like when set free. A little girl with tangled hair stopped mid-step to stand and stare. She held a doll with missing shoe, and whispered, "Can mine fly too?" The boy looked down, then at the sky where colors danced. Bold and high, he tore a piece from old cloth thread, and tied hope's string to hers instead. Now 2 small hands held dreams above, 2 quiet hearts learning love, and in the wind, both kites would sway, like prayers that finally found their way. A man with worry carved in deep paused on his road of no more sleep, bills and burdens in his mind, peace the thing he couldn't find. But as he watched those kites so light, something eased, if just a slight. A breath he hadn't taken long slipped out soft, almost a song. The sky, once just an empty dome, began to feel like borrowed home, where even tired souls could see a place they still were meant to be. The kites climbed higher, side by side, like wounds and hope that both abide, not enemies, but threads that weave the strength we never knew we'd achieve. The wind now played, no longer cruel. It moved with gentle, shifting rule, as if it too had come to learn how fragile faith can fiercely burn. Clouds drifted slow like passing fears, soft as old, forgiven tears. Sunlight stitched in golden seams across the fabric of their dreams. A woman standing at a door who hadn't smiled in months or more, felt warmth knock softly in her chest. A guest she thought she'd laid to rest. She stepped outside, her shadow thin, and let the morning enter in. Her eyes climbed up that colored flight and borrowed courage from the sight. For hope is not a shouting flame. It does not come with drums or fame. It slips inside through cracks we hide, and sits there quietly beside. The boy and girl said not a word, yet something mighty had occurred. Their silent act, so small, so pure, had made the wounded sky endure. Far away on hospital bed, where tired machines blinked green and red, a man who fought through pain and night saw, through a window color bright. He watched the kites in distant air, so small, yet floating without care, and in his chest, where fear had grown, a stubborn little spark was sown. His fingers twitched, his breathing slowed, as if some heavy gate unclosed, and though the pain did not depart, a thread of sky tied to his heart. Back in the field, the wind grew wide, pulling the kites on a wilder ride. They dipped and soared, they spun and dove, like laughter rediscovering love. The string now hummed with many dreams, not just theirs, but countless streams, of unseen hands and hidden pleas riding on that tender breeze. A teacher tired, a worker worn, a soul who felt forever torn, each one, without quite knowing why, felt lifted just by looking sky. Because hope, when seen, becomes more real, a thing the broken hands can feel, not just a word the brave ones say, but proof that light still finds a way. The boy felt warmth upon his face, as if the sun knew him by grace. He did not own the sky above, yet somehow shared its endless love. The girl beside him laughed out loud, her joy too big, too bright, too proud. Her kite looped wild, a dancing flame, untamed by fear, untouched by shame. The world had not been fixed or healed, no magic shield, no pain repealed, but something subtle had begun. A shift as quiet as the sun. For hope does not erase the scar. It simply shows us who we are. Not just the hurt, the loss, the fall, but hands that still reach through it all. The kites kept climbing, thin but true, against a sky washed clear and blue. Their paper hearts, though torn and small, refused the ancient rule. You fall, and somewhere deep where silence grows, where no one sees and no one knows, the earth itself seemed less alone, as if those kites had gently shown that even dust, and tears, and pain can lift like colors after rain, and every soul, though bruised by life, still holds a thread beyond the strife. So if today your hands still shake, if holding on feels like heartbreak, look up, not down, at open air, your kite of hope is waiting there. Afternoon leaned on the edge of time, warm as memory, slow as rhyme. The field now hummed with quiet feet, drawn by colors overhead so sweet. They didn't come for bread or gold, nor stories new nor tales retold. They came because something above looked like the shape of forgotten love. The kites were smaller from below, yet somehow made the whole sky glow, proof that size has little say in how far light can truly sway. The boy's arms ached, his fingers sore, thin red lines his skin now wore, but pain had changed its voice inside. It no longer begged him to hide. It whispered, "You are strong enough to hold the sky when winds are rough, to keep a dream from falling down even when storms begin to drown." The girl beside him would not blink, afraid her hope might fall. She'd think, but hope is not a fragile glass. It's grass that grows through stone and mass. An old woman with a cane of wood stood longer than she thought she could, her back bent low by years and loss, her life a map of lines to cross. She watched those kites, her faded eyes filling with quiet, silver skies, and in her chest, so long locked tight, a window opened to the light. She once had dreams that tried to fly, but time had clipped them from the sky. Yet seeing paper dare so high taught her that not all hopes die. A boy who'd learned to fight too young, with angry words on his sharp tongue, looked up between his guarded stairs, and felt a crack in all his flares. The kites did not accuse or blame, did not demand he change his name, they simply flew, and in that grace he felt the softening of his face. For hope does not knock down your door. It waits, then waits a little more, until your tired heart one day leaves just the smallest space its way. The wind now told a different tale, no longer harsh, no longer pale. It moved like breath from sleeping earth, carrying seeds of silent worth. The strings stretched thin from hand to height, a trembling road from dark to light, and everyone who watched could feel that invisible thread was real. It reached from sky to human chest, from restless mind to place of rest, a bridge no storm could fully tear, because it's built from whispered prayer. The boy looked at the gathered crowd, so quiet now, no voices loud, and wondered how a scrap of thread had stitched such calm where fear had spread. He did not speak. He didn't know that hope is something you just show, a silent flame, a lifted gaze, a small act in ordinary days. The girl tugged gently, laughed again, her joy like sunlight after rain. Her kite swooped low, then climbed once more, teaching the sky new shapes to soar. A father holding his child tight pointed up at that brave sight. "See," he said, his voice so low, "even paper learns to grow." The child just clapped, eyes open wide, trusting the sky without a guide. For children know what we forget. Hope is the safest bet we get. Shadows stretched across the land, evening taking daylight's hand. But still those kites refused to fall, tiny defiance over all. The sun began its amber slide, painting fire on heaven's side, and in that glow, both kites turned flame, as if the stars had signed their name. The boy felt something deep and clear, a truth too large to hold in fear. He did not need to own the sky to let his quiet courage fly. The girl leaned close, her voice so small. "Do you think hope can hold us all?" He watched the fading golden dome and said, "It already feels like home." A silence settled, soft and deep, the kind that lets the tired weep. Not tears of breaking, sharp and wild, but healing tears of inner child. For hope is not the end of pain. It does not promise endless gain, but gives the strength to stand and say, "I'll try again another day." The kites now brushed the edge of night, last embers of the dying light. Yet even as the sun withdrew, their colors held a hidden hue. Because real hope does not depend on perfect light that will not end. It glows inside when days are done, a private, unextinguished sun. And as the first star dared to shine, small and soft on heaven's line, it seemed to wink, as if to say, "Your kite has shown the stars the way." Night unfolded velvet wide, stars like secrets trying to hide. The field grew cool, the voices low, but still the threads refused to go. The kites were shadows now in height, soft outlines stitched into the night. Yet every eye still tracked their place, as if they marked hope's hidden trace. Crickets sang their silver tune, earth breathing under watchful moon. And in that hush so pure, so deep, even sorrow seemed to sleep. The boy could barely feel his hands, numb from holding skybound strands, but something warmer held him there. a quiet answer to despair. The girl leaned close against his side, her earlier laughter now a tide turned gentle, like a fading bell still echoing where joy once fell. "Are they still flying?" she asked the dark. He searched the sky for the faintest spark. "Yes," he said, though hard to see. "Hope doesn't need our eyes to be." An old man sat upon the ground. His cane laid gently, no more sound. His gaze fixed high where black met blue, watching dreams he once withdrew. A tear slipped down his weathered face, not born from pain, but quiet grace, the kind that comes when hearts long closed find doors inside them softly posed. Far in the town where lights burned late, behind a window edged with fate, a woman who had lost her way stood still at end of breaking day. She'd thought of leaving, giving in, letting the dark come thick as sin, but something tugged, she couldn't say, and drew her eyes toward the fading gray. She saw, against the moonlit air, two tiny shapes still floating there, and though she did not know their name, her breathing steadied just the same. Hope does not shout across the land. It moves like touch from unseen hand, a thread so fine you might not see, yet strong enough to set hearts free. The wind grew softer than a sigh, like lullabies the night would try. It rocked the kites in gentle swings, as if they were celestial things. The string hummed low, a living line, between the human and divine, between the weight of mortal clay and skies that promise, there's a way. The boy looked up at moon so pale, its silver brushing every trail, and felt so small, yet not alone, as if the stars knew he had grown. For holding hope through storm and scar makes even quiet children stars, not shining loud for all to see, but steady lights of we can be. The girl's eyes slowly closed in rest, her head against his shoulder pressed, still clutching tight her piece of thread, dreaming of skies inside her head. The crowd had thinned, but not the grace. It lingered soft in time and space, like warmth left in an empty chair after love has once been there. A stray dog curled upon the ground, at peace in hope's unspoken sound. Even creatures small and wild felt the calm that touched the child. Clouds drifted past like thoughts forgiven, thin as smoke toward higher heaven, and through their lace, the kites still played a midnight dance that fear obeyed. Because fear cannot long remain where hope has walked through honest pain. It fades like frost in rising sun. It knows its rule is nearly